Stop giving your power away. Stop reacting to every word, every action, every drama. What if I told you that the moment you detach emotionally, the moment you stop letting chaos control you, everything in your life changes? Your peace is not something to be negotiated, compromised, or handed away like candy on a street corner. It is rare, it is valuable. And yet, how often do we watch it slip through our fingers without even realizing it? We wake up in the morning, and before we even take a breath for ourselves, we are reacting to messages, reacting to comments, reacting to the moods of others, reacting to situations that have no real power over our lives unless we allow them in. Every time you allow someone else's energy to penetrate your mind, you are surrendering a piece of your inner calm. You are trading your most precious resource for temporary validation, fleeting attention, or the illusion of control. Detachment is the shield that stops this leakage. It is the silent wall that protects the sanctuary of your mind, that keeps your heart from being tugged around by the whims of people who do not deserve a seat at your emotional table. Peace is not passive. It is not indifference. It is a force, a state of being, a decision that says, I will not surrender myself for the chaos that surrounds me, and detachment is the vehicle through which we arrive at that state. When you detach emotionally, you are not turning off your feelings. You are choosing which feelings deserve to occupy your mind and which ones do not. You are no longer a puppet, moved by strings of other people's anger, frustration, jealousy, or insecurity. You are free to feel, yes, but you feel selectively. You feel with purpose. You feel without losing yourself. Imagine how powerful life becomes when every day you wake up and know that nothing, no person, no insult, no misstep has the authority to steal your calm. That is what detachment gives you. That is why your peace is priceless. It is the foundation of everything you are capable of achieving, of every decision you make, of every interaction you have. Many people misunderstand detachment. They think it is cold. They think it is uncaring. But there is nothing colder than a mind in constant turmoil, a heart in constant reaction. That is chaos masquerading as engagement. True detachment is warmth and strength combined. It is the ability to care deeply, to act decisively, to love intensely, without allowing yourself to be consumed or controlled by the emotional storms that swirl around you. When you are attached to outcomes, to people's opinions, to every insult or praise, you are fragile. You are easy to break. But when you detach, you become unshakable. You cannot be manipulated. You cannot be drained. You cannot be pushed off your path by the emotional hurricanes of others. And this is why detachment is not a luxury. It is a survival mechanism. Consider how often you allow others to dictate the rhythm of your day. You wake up and immediately check your phone, and suddenly you are pulled into a vortex of stress and distraction. Someone's criticism, someone's gossip, someone's frustration. It lands on your shoulders, and you carry it like it belongs to you. But it doesn't. You are not required to absorb it. You are not required to react. Detachment teaches you that you have the right to stand firm, to remain grounded, to observe without being entangled. It is a choice to preserve your energy, to prioritize your peace, to protect yourself from unnecessary suffering. And once you understand this, once you embrace it, life begins to shift in ways you never thought possible. Detachment also teaches you clarity. When you are not emotionally tied to every little conflict, every petty disagreement, every minor disappointment, your vision becomes sharper. You see people and situations for what they truly are, not what your emotions tell you they are. You no longer project fear, insecurity, or neediness onto every interaction. You begin to recognize patterns, intentions, and truths with precision. Decisions that once felt overwhelming suddenly feel obvious because your mind is free of clutter. Emotional detachment does not numb your senses. It heightens them. It allows you to act from strategy instead of reaction, from purpose instead of panic, from calm instead of chaos. Your peace becomes a lens through which the world comes into focus, and suddenly, what seemed confusing or unfair becomes understandable, manageable, and even navigable. And yet, detachment requires discipline. It requires vigilance. Every day, there will be forces, people, situations, voices trying to pull you back into the emotional quagmire. There will be moments when anger tempts you, when jealousy tugs at your mind, when disappointment whispers that you must react to prove your value. These are tests, and how you respond defines the strength of your peace. The moment you give in, even slightly, you let go of the priceless sanctuary that detachment builds. But when you resist, when you observe without absorbing, when you allow situations to pass without claiming them as your own, you reinforce the most powerful habit you can cultivate, the habit of protecting your inner world. Detachment also redefines relationships. When you are no longer emotionally dependent on the approval, attention, or reactions of others, your interactions change fundamentally. You are no longer chasing validation, no longer bending to fit expectations, no longer surrendering pieces of yourself to be accepted. Instead, people are drawn to you because of your stability, your calm, your self-possession. You become magnetic, not because you seek admiration, but because you emanate a quiet strength that others cannot help but notice. And when conflicts arise, you handle them with grace. When disagreements happen, you engage without losing control. Your peace becomes your power, and the world responds differently when it encounters a person who cannot be shaken by the trivial, the toxic, or the unnecessary. Perhaps most importantly, detachment teaches you that peace is a choice, not a circumstance. It is not dependent on money, status, relationships, or external validation. It is not a reward for surviving hardship. It is not something that others can give you or take from you. It is yours to claim at any moment, no matter the chaos that surrounds you. And when you claim it, life changes. Stress loses its grip. Anger loses its intensity. Fear loses its authority. You move through the world with an energy that is rare, respected, and unstoppable. People may not understand it at first. They may label you as cold, distant, or indifferent. But they will notice. They will recognize that something has shifted. And what has shifted is not them, it is you. Your detachment, your preservation of peace, your refusal to give away what is priceless, transforms your presence and your possibilities in ways that no amount of noise or chaos can undo. Clarity is one of the most underrated powers a person can possess. Most people wander through life reacting to every impulse, every insult, every minor inconvenience as if their peace depends on it. And yet, nothing could be further from the truth. Clarity is born not from action, but from stillness. It is born not from reaction, but from observation. When you stop reacting, when you pause long enough to see what is really happening, the fog lifts. You begin to understand the difference between what matters and what doesn't, between the trivial and the significant, between the drama and the truth. Most people never experience this because they are too busy responding, defending, justifying, or pleading. Their eyes are wide open, but they cannot see. They hear words, but do not listen. They feel emotions, but cannot understand them. Observing, truly observing, allows you to reclaim your mind, to free yourself from the tyranny of impulsive responses, to step into a space where decision, strategy, and purpose can finally thrive. Reaction is a trap. It makes you predictable. It gives power to those who seek to control your emotions. Every time you react in anger, every time you argue to prove yourself right, every time you allow jealousy or insecurity to drive your behavior, you are handing control over your life to something external. You are surrendering your clarity, your judgment, your authority over your own mind. Observation, on the other hand, is power. When you observe, you do not surrender. You do not absorb the chaos. You do not let someone else's emotions dictate your actions. You simply notice, you assess, you weigh, you understand. And from that calm, undisturbed center, you choose. You do not simply react. You respond with precision. You do not act blindly. You act with intention. This is what separates people who are truly in control of their lives from those who are controlled by circumstance. Observation does not mean indifference. It does not mean that you turn into a passive spectator of life. It means that you prioritize perspective over impulse. It means that before you speak, before you act, before you allow yourself to be swept into someone else's chaos, you take a moment to see clearly. What is really happening? Who is really involved? What are the stakes? What is your role? And what is theirs? When you answer these questions honestly, when you step back long enough to see the truth, you gain a clarity that reaction alone can never provide. Decisions become obvious. Paths become clear. Relationships reveal their true colors. Situations that once seemed confusing suddenly make sense. And in this clarity, your power grows. Every interaction becomes a lesson. Every conflict becomes a mirror. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to practice stillness. You begin to notice patterns, behavioral, emotional, psychological, that previously went unseen. You see who manipulates, who lies, who acts out of fear, and who acts from strength. You see your own tendencies, your own triggers, your own blind spots. And with this understanding comes freedom. You are no longer a puppet in a drama orchestrated by others. You are no longer at the mercy of the chaos that surrounds you. You can choose how to move, what to say, who to trust, and where to invest your energy. This is the kind of clarity that changes everything. Observation also allows you to detach without losing compassion. When you see clearly, you understand that people's actions are often reflections of their own struggles, their own insecurities, their own limitations. You no longer take offense so easily. You no longer react to every slight. You no longer absorb the weight of others' emotions as if they belong to you. And yet, you remain fully present. You remain empathetic. You remain strong. You become someone who can act decisively without being driven by emotion. Someone who can support without being consumed. Someone who can lead without losing themselves. This is the paradox of true clarity. It demands detachment, but it also allows connection. It demands observation, but it deepens understanding. Think about how often life feels confusing, overwhelming, or unfair. Most of the time, it is not because the circumstances themselves are unmanageable. It is because we have allowed our reactions to cloud our vision. We argue, we complain, we stress, we obsess, and in doing so, we blur the line between what is important and what is trivial. Observation clears that line. It separates truth from emotion, fact from fiction, reality from illusion. When you stop reacting, you stop giving away your power. When you start observing, you reclaim it. And when you reclaim it, everything begins to align. The decisions you make, the paths you follow, the people you surround yourself with, they all become intentional rather than accidental. Your life is no longer a series of random responses, but a carefully constructed journey guided by clarity and purpose. Clarity also changes how others perceive you. People who are reactive are easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, easy to control. People who observe before responding are not. They command respect without demanding it. They create influence without force. They are mysterious, deliberate, unshakable. And this is because clarity is power in action. It allows you to act when others are still trapped in reaction. It allows you to speak when others are still debating. It allows you to move while others are stalled in chaos. And those who try to pull you into their drama quickly realize that their attempts are ineffective because you are no longer participating in their cycle. You see, clarity does not just improve your decision-making. It changes the dynamics around you. It changes how people interact with you, how situations unfold in your life, and ultimately, how your life itself is lived. The practice of observation is not easy. It requires patience, discipline, and self-awareness. The mind wants to react. The ego wants to defend. The heart wants to feel. But each time you pause, each time you breathe, each time you choose to watch instead of act, you strengthen the muscle of clarity. It grows with practice. It becomes a habit. And once it becomes habitual, life itself begins to feel less chaotic, less overwhelming, and more navigable. You stop being at the mercy of circumstances. You stop being controlled by others. You stop being a prisoner of your own emotional impulses. You step into a state where your mind is sharp, your judgment is sound, and your presence is commanding. And perhaps the greatest gift of clarity is freedom. Freedom from overthinking, freedom from unnecessary stress, freedom from the exhausting cycle of constant emotional engagement, freedom from being dragged into conflicts that do not belong to you, freedom from giving your energy to people, opinions, and situations that are not worthy of it. Clarity is a shield, a compass, a guide, and a weapon. It allows you to live life on your terms, to choose your battles, to protect your peace, and to expand your power. When you stop reacting and start observing, life changes. Decisions become simpler. Relationships become healthier. Opportunities become more visible. And the energy that once fueled unnecessary conflict is redirected into building, creating, and living a life of purpose and intention.